Reader Tiff coming at you this time because Librarian Tiff is taking the day off, but we're going to be talking about my fall TBR and my fall book recommendations. So without further ado, let's get into it. Hey guys, it's Tiff and welcome back to my channel. You already know what today's video is, so I do not need to tell you twice. What is up? I am so excited about this video because what better time to read than fall time? There isn't. Fall time is actually the best time of year to read. The coziness, the temperature, literally everything about it, it just makes for the perfect time to read. And as you guys can tell, I have a lot of books on my fall TBR and this isn't even all of them, okay? With that being said, we're gonna get right on into it. And starting out with the first three, we have the Dreamland Billionaire series. So we have the Fine Print, Terms and Conditions, and Final Offer. These are books that I have owned for quite some time and have been on my TBR for a really long time also. I actually did read the first 10 pages of the Fine Print, but this was back in March and then I didn't end up finishing a single book in March. And it's not that I didn't like it, I just was in a horrible slump and just couldn't pick up a book, especially because I was out of town. The covers give me fall vibes and I just really want to read this series and I think this is the perfect time to do it. I don't know much about this series other than the fact that it's about 3 different brothers, I believe, and their grandfather passes away, and in order for them to inherit whatever they're supposed to inherit, they have to complete a task. I think that's the vibe of these. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure that's it. See how we're doing this right now? Okay. Next up, we have another 3 books, and that is the last 3 in the Magnolia Park series, or I guess not last 3 because there's another one coming out, but you know what I mean. So we have Daisy Hates Magnolia Park's A Long Way Home and Daisy Hates The Great Undoing. So I've read the first one and I'm actually rereading it right now for my book club book of the month, and I'm really hoping to read the rest of the series that's out this fall. I just love this universe and I love the characters and I just cannot wait to dive more into the stories. If you don't know what this series is about, literally imagine Gossip Girl, but in the UK. That's the vibe of this book. Rich kids, drinking, partying, drugs, toxic relationships. That's the vibe. Love, love, love this series and I can't wait to continue it. Daisy Hates is actually on my TBR for this month, so hopefully I will get that read and then the other 2 we can read throughout the next little few months of the fall season. What did I just say? I don't know. And next we have Credence by Penelope Douglas. This is actually a book that I have no idea what it's about. Like, I have 0 clue, and I ended up buying it, like, I want to say beginning of this year or end of last year, because I saw a lot of people in these Facebook groups I'm in posting pictures of the cover being like, this book is so good, or I saw people on TikTok talking about it, but none of those people specifically mentioned what it was about. I just bought it because so many people said it was good, but I feel like this book is kind of controversial because I feel like people either love or hate this book, so I'm a little nervous, but the cover gives me fall slash like transitioning to winter vibes for some reason, so I think it'll be the perfect time to read this. I mean, I could be wrong, like this could take place in the dead middle of summer, but I doubt it based on the cover. I doubt it. This is the next one I'm hoping to read. Again, no clue what it's about, so we shall see. We shall see about that. And the next 2 books I have are actually the last 2 in a trilogy that I've already started. So we have Fever and Burn by Maya Banks. These are the last 2 in the Breathless trilogy. I read the first one, which is Rush. I want to say that was in February, I think. I could be wrong. I think that was February. And I really liked that book aside from like one specific scene that made me feel really icky. But other than that, I really loved that book. And I really want to finish the trilogy up because if you know what this is about and if you've read it or you've read the first one, the 2 characters that like these 2 follow just have personalities that I can't wait to watch that kind of like character development. So I'm really hoping to get these read before the new year so that I can finally finish the trilogy. And next we have The Nanny by Lana Ferguson. Now, I do not think this is in any way, shape, or form related to the fall season, but I picked this up like right around when it came out, I think in May maybe? I don't remember. This came out this year and it just sounds so interesting. It's about this girl who is suddenly unemployed and she needs to find a job quick, and she ends up accepting a live-in nanny position, but she used to do OnlyFans and she finds out that the single dad that hired her used to be a like follower on her OnlyFans, but he doesn't remember her from that, and she has to kind of figure out what to do, obviously, because as we know, since it's a rom-com, that's her love interest. The concept of this just sounds really, really interesting, and I've actually had a few of you guys DMing me after reading this saying that you really, really liked it, so I'm very excited to read this, and I just really want to read it and get it off my TBR. I have a very long physical TBR, so I'm really hoping this fall to get quite a few knocked off my TBR, especially because I'm going to be trying to put myself on a ban for the rest of September and for October, because because in November I'm gonna be buying freaking Christmas books like crazy, especially for Bookmas. So I really want to put myself on a band for the next 2 months, get a bunch of books off my physical TBR, and get prepared for the holiday season. Anyways, that's not what this is about. Let's continue. Next we have Hooked. This is going to get into the beginning little aspect of the fact that most of these are fantasy books. This is a part of the Never After series, which is like a fairy tale retelling. So this kind of follows Peter and Wendy. So we have like the Peter Pan universe, and it's like a dark romance. I've never read anything like this before. I'm very intrigued. I've heard amazing things about this series and about this book, so I'm very excited to see what the hype is about. Me and my friend Tiana actually both bought this recently, which that is going to be a bookstore vlog coming soon, so stay tuned for that. But we both bought it and we're probably going to end up buddy reading it. So I also love the cover. Something about dark colored covers at the moment are really drawing me in, and they're just really, I don't know, I'm just really loving them. Next we actually have an adult sci-fi, and it's called The Girl Who Could Move with Her Mind by Jackson Ford. This is about a girl who has telekinesis, and the government ends up making her go on these missions that normal human beings could not, what's the word I'm looking for? Accomplish, I guess? I don't think that's the word. You know what I mean. On her last job site, a body turns up murdered in a way only she could do, but she didn't do it, so she only has 24 hours to clear her name. This is actually a whole series. There's 4 books, and I actually bought all of them. They're right down here, and I'm very excited to read this. My husband actually pointed this out and was like, you should get them. They sound really good. And I was like, okay, say less. So I did it, and I'm very excited to read it, see what they're about, kind of just get an idea of like, what is this, you know? And next up we have Heartless by Marissa Meyer. This is a YA book, and it's like a retelling of The Queen of Hearts. This book just sounded so interesting to me. Again, I've never read anything like this, and I just read the synopsis of this at the store, and I was like, I need this book in my life. Like, I have to get it. It sounds so interesting. I also love the cover of this. I think it's so cute, and I'm just really excited to read it. I have also had a few of you guys comment and DM me saying that you loved this book, so that makes me so much more excited. Yeah, that's the next book. Very excited about it. And next we have the Dance of Thieves duology. So we have Dance of Thieves and Vow of Thieves by Mary E. Pearson. I have heard amazing things about this duology. I have seen a lot of people just hype it up. Haley Pham being one of them. She loves this duology, and I bought these quite a while ago. Like, I've had these on my physical TBR for quite some time, and I'm just really hoping to get them off my TBR. I don't know if I already said it in this video, but fall time in my opinion is the best time to read like fantasy type books, because it's fall. Like, it's just like, if you know, you know, it's just the perfect time to read it. So I'm really hoping to get these off my physical TBR this year and see what the hype is about. I don't know a single thing about this duology, so I will be going into this completely blind, and I love going into books blind, so I'm very excited about that aspect of it. And next we have Daughter of the Moon Goddess by Sue Lin Tan. It is actually inspired by the legend of the Chinese moon goddess, and the storyline of this just sounds really interesting. This girl and her mom live on the moon, so she grows up on the moon, and she's like completely unaware that she's being hidden from the celestial emperor because her mom stole his elixir of immortality. But then she starts getting powers, and her existence becomes known, and so she has to flee home, leave her mother behind, and then at some point she ends up having to challenge the celestial emperor to like a battle of some sort. I don't know. It just sounds very interesting. I'm very excited to read it, and I also love this cover. I probably have said that a lot, and I'm gonna continue saying it a lot, but I think this is actually my favorite cover of any book that I own, and that's kind of crazy to say because I have a lot of covers that I love, but something about the way this one looks, it's just absolutely stunning to me. The details, just everything about this, I love. It's so beautiful, and I'm super excited to read this. Okay, and next I have the first 2 in like a YA fantasy series. So we have The Traitor's Kiss and The Traitor's Ruin. There is one more, I believe, but they didn't have it at the time of me purchasing these, so I only got these 2. First of all, look at the covers. Literally so cute. I'm obsessed. But these books just sound very intriguing to me. They both follow the same characters, so I haven't really read the synopsis of the second one, but based on my knowledge of the first one, it's about this girl named Sage, and she is deemed an improper lady, okay? She is deemed to not get a suitable marriage. She has a temper and a quick tongue. Quick tongue? a quicksilver tongue. She is apprenticed to a matchmaker, so she basically like spies on these young girls to have them eventually be married off for political alliances. But then as the military escort senses a political uprising, a soldier, a handsome soldier apparently, ends up recruiting her to infiltrate enemy ranks. So it's kind of about that. I'm really excited to read these books because they sound very interesting, but the one complaint I have is whoever decided the size of this font, yeah, I think they need jail time, because what is this? This is the tiniest font I've ever seen in a book, and it's really messing with my brain, but it does sound really interesting, so I got it anyways. Next up, we actually have a mystery thriller, and the cover of this is one of my favorite covers. I love this cover. Just take a look. Look at this cover. It is so pretty. This is One of Us is Dead by Geneva Rose. She wrote The Perfect Marriage, and I loved that book so much. So when I saw this at Barnes, I absolutely had to get it, and this is literally about like rich women and their problems. Like, what other type of mystery thriller sounds more interesting? I mean, okay, probably plenty, but I love reading about rich people and their issues, so this sounds very interesting. This follows 4 girls. We have Shannon, who used to be the queen bee of Buckhead, but her political husband dumps her for a younger woman. Then we have Crystal, who is said younger woman. Then we have Olivia, who's been wanting to take Shannon's place, and now it is her time. And then we have Jenny, who owns the most exclusive salon in town, and she knows all of her clients' secrets and darkest desires. And then it says, who amongst these women will be clever enough to survive Buckhead, and who will wind up dead? I just think this sounds so interesting, and again, I loved The Perfect Marriage by her, so when I saw this, I absolutely had to get it. I'm very excited to read it. Next, we have The Vampire Diaries by L.J. Smith. This is actually the first 2 in the series. We have The Awakening and The Struggle all in one book. I love this show, and so I've really been wanting to read the books, even though I've heard a lot of people say that the books are awful compared to the show, but I still want to give them a chance and kind of see what the differences are and kind of how the story goes in the books compared to the show. I don't know. I'm just very intrigued, and again, I just love the show, okay? If I can get more content from Damon and just picture this Damon as the Damon we all know and love, why would I not? Why would I not? And then the next book, a lot of you guys are probably gonna be like, oh my god, Tiffany, what is wrong with you? Bear with me. We have October Kiss, which is a Hallmark movie inspired book. If you know me, you know I am a complete sucker for Hallmark movies, Hallmark Christmas movies, or just Hallmark movies in general. Like, I love Hallmark movies, and the other day I went to Barnes with my friend Tiana, a completely separate time from the bookstore vlog, and I saw 2 books that had the Hallmark emblem on it, and I was like, I have to get them. Like, I have to. I would be an idiot not to. So I got both of them, and one of them was this one. The other one's a Christmas book, so you'll hear about that later. I am so excited to read this. And also, funny story, I called my mom to tell her that I got these 2 books because they were Hallmark, and me and my mom love watching Hallmark movies together. She was watching this movie at the time I called her. Like, is that not so ironic? She was like, this movie is so good. I hope the book's good. Like, you'll really like it. So that's the next one, and I'm very excited about this. I'm very excited about this. Okay, and next we have a bunch of books by the same author. So we have The Inheritance Games by Jennifer Lynn Barnes, and then I also have the entire Natural series. I only own the first one of this, though if I do really like this, I will definitely buy the last 2 and also read those. I just don't currently own them. And then I bought this whole series when I saw it at the store because everyone is saying that this is like a Criminal Minds type series. I used to be obsessed with watching those kind of like crime shows, so this sounded very intriguing to me, and people are also hyping these books up so much. So the first one is The Naturals, and then Killer Instinct, All In, and then Bad Blood, and I believe this one also has a novella in it. So yeah, people love her writing and say that her books are just super fast paced and super interesting, so I have been wanting to read these for quite some time, and now is the perfect time to do it because it is fall time, and again, what better time to read books like with this kind of vibe than right now. So those are all on the TBR, obviously, or I wouldn't be showing you them. And next we have the Good Girl's Guide to Murder trilogy. I actually only own the first 2, so we have A Good Girl's Guide to Murder and Good Girl Bad Blood by Holly Jackson. I have heard incredible things about this series. I have also had a ton of you guys comment down below or send me DMs telling me that I need to read this trilogy, so I'm really hoping to get it read this fall season. Basically all I really know about this series is it's a basically basically about this girl named Pip, and I believe there was like a murder in her school, or maybe like, I think it was like, was it her friend? I don't know if it was her friend, but basically someone got killed, and then she starts kind of like re-looking into the case and ends up finding out a bunch of these like secrets or something, and then is trying to like figure out who actually did it. That sounded like word vomit. I don't fully know what it's about other than that. That's that. I'm excited to read it, and also a lot of you guys have been telling me to read it, so I'm sure you guys will be so happy to know that I have finally read this series. So next is another book I picked up recently, and it's called Ace of Spades, and I do not know how to say this author's name, but it is somewhere on the screen, so there you go. This book sounds so interesting. This is actually a book my husband picked up and was like, oh, this sounds really interesting, like read the back, you should get it, and I did in fact end up getting it because I do think it sounds really interesting. It's about these two private school students, and they get selected to be a part of their school's senior prefects, which helps them get in the running for valedictorian and helps with their college applications. But as soon as the announcement is made, somebody who goes by the name of Aces starts sending anonymous text messages about these two characters, things that like they don't want anyone to know. That's gonna ruin their chances for valedictorian and for college. Makai was like, it's kind of giving Gossip Girl, but like not. And I was like, you're kind of right. It is kind of giving Gossip Girl, but not. So that's the next one. Next we have another little romance, a little rom-com, and that is Go Hex Yourself by Jessica Clare. I don't know much about this other than it's about a girl who puts in like a job application for what she thinks is like her favorite card game, but she actually ends up becoming a familiar for an actual witch. And then the witch's nephew is her love interest, and he's arrogant, insufferable, and the most maddening man to ever cast a spell. I am really excited about this. The cover is giving me like Sabrina the Teenage Witch vibes, and that is such a good show. I don't know, I think this will be a great little romance book to give me those fall vibes and also be a little bit of a palate cleanser between like some fantasy books. And next we have Daisy Jones and the Six by Taylor Jenkins Reid. This has been on my physical TBR for quite some time, and this is like such a hyped up book. I don't know too much about this other than I believe it's about a band, but I'll be going into it fairly blind, but I just really want to get it off my TBR. I love The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo by her, so since I loved that book and her writing in that book so much, I have a really good feeling that I'm also gonna really love this book too. And the cover just gives me fall vibes. I mean, the colors of this cover just give fall. So again, maybe a good little palette cleanser between fantasies. Who knows? Next we have another thriller, Lock Every Door by Riley Sager. I have been wanting to read one of his books because Haley Pham loves his books, and I've just been really intrigued. I will say I am someone who gets scared very easily, so reading mystery thrillers gives me a lot of anxiety because I don't know if what is inside these pages, if it is going to make it to where I can't sleep at night. But I'm actually going to be filming a specific video next month where I'm gonna have to be reading thrillers, okay? You probably already guessed what that video is, but we're just gonna act like you didn't. This is definitely one I want to try to get read in that video because I have had this on my physical TBR for so long. I need to get it read, get it off my TBR, and be done with it. Next we have kind of a random book to throw in this mix, but we have The Deal by Elle Kennedy. This is a hockey romance, and I've just been wanting to read this for a really long time, and I feel like fall and winter is a really good time to read hockey romances. I'm assuming I feel that way because it's ice. I will say I've read one book by Elle Kennedy before, and that was Bad Girl Reputation, and I didn't love that book. I mean, it was fun and I enjoyed it, so I'm a little nervous that I'm just not a fan of her writing, but we shall see when I read this book what I think. And I'm hoping I love this because I see a lot of people say they love this book and this series, so we shall see when I read it, if I read it. And next we have a really fat book. I mean, I think this is probably the biggest book I own because it is literally over 700 pages, but we have All He'll Ever Be by W. Winters. I've also had this on my TBR for quite some time, but I believe it's like a mafia romance, and I think the dude like kidnaps her and her dad is like his enemy, something like that. I don't know, it just sounded really interesting, and I don't know, I've never read a book like this, okay? I've never read a dark romance, and I have a few of them on this, so we shall see if it's my vibe or not. I do really want to get it read this fall slash maybe winter time. We shall see, because those are the vibes it gives me. So that's the next one on the TBR. Really fat. It's very intimidating. Very intimidating. And the next we have Before We Were Strangers by Renee Carlino, I think is how you say it. I don't know much about this book other than then it's like a second chance romance, but I had seen so many people reading this. I want to say the beginning of this year, maybe end of last year. So I just ended up picking it up because I saw a lot of good things. But other than that, I don't know what it's about. But the cover of this just kind of gives me like fall/winter vibes because it looks like they're wearing coats. So I figured this might be a good time of year to read it. But honestly, other than that, I have no reason as to why this is on my TBR for the fall time. It just is. And then next we have Dark and Shallow Lies by Jenny Myers Sane. This is another book that I've had on my TBR for a while. I don't even remember what this is about. And I honestly don't want to read the synopsis. So I think we're just gonna let me forget what it's about. And then when I get to it, I'll be kind of going into it blind and see how I feel. But this is a YA book that I picked up a little while ago. And I don't know, it's giving fall vibes. So that's also on the TBR. And then we have Four Dead Queens. I picked this up recently and I am very intrigued by the concept of this story. This is a YA book and it's about this girl who is a pickpocketer, okay? Stick with me. And then she ends up finding out that the most recent person she pickpocketed, what she pickpocketed, I'm saying that word so much, from that person is actually a video of 4 queens being murdered. So she teams up with the person that she had pickpocketed to help him complete the delivery and uncover the murderer. Like what? That just sounds so interesting. I am so excited to read this book because I feel like this is gonna be such a fun and interesting story. I cannot wait. That's the next one. Okay, and the next 2 big chunks of books that I want to read this fall time, you've actually been looking at this whole time, whether you realized it or not. So we have the whole Harry Potter series. I've read the first one in the series and I really want to finish the series this fall. And then also the Shatter Me series. I recently just like said it, dropped a bag and bought the whole series because I only owned the first one, but for some reason I've just been really wanting to read the entire series this fall, so I just bought them all. And I'm very excited to read it. The Shatter Me series is such a beloved series, especially on Book Talk and BookTube, so I'm very excited to kind of see what it's about. It's like a dystopian series, and then obviously we all know what Harry Potter is. I love the movies. I'm such a Harry Potter girly, like if you know, you know, so I really want to finish the series this fall. I love this universe. It's so magical and it gives me the absolute best vibes ever. And then I also want to finish the Eden series. I recently read Indigo Ridge and I loved it so much. So I really want to finish that series this fall because I loved that book so much, which that you'll see in an upcoming vlog. And then the last book that I really have like my eye set out to read this fall is Natasha Preston is coming out with a new book and I think it comes out this month. I believe it's called The Haunting and I love her writing, so I really want to read that when it comes out. So that is all the books that I have on my TBR at this moment in time for the fall time. Now we're going to move into the recs and I'm going to kind of go through these kind of quickly and just give you all the recs. I mean, honestly, my TBR can be recs for you guys too, but these books are just going to be books that I've read or I've read some of them, if you know what I mean, and I love them and I think you should read them too. So to start, we have the Grimrose Girls duology. So the first one is the Grimrose Girls and then The Wicked Remain. These are books I actually just finished reading very recently and I really enjoyed the story. It's about these 4 girls that are best friends. They go to a boarding school. One of them ends up dead and the friends end up looking into her death, finding out that she's not the first one to die and that all these deaths are linked to ancient fairy tale curses and they have to find a way to break said curse. So that is what this is about. I think it's a very fun story, very whimsical, but also some parts are kind of like haunting. Like they just kind of freaked me out personally, but I really enjoyed it and I think this is such a good duology. It's a YA, so they're really fast reads and I really enjoyed it. So definitely would recommend these. And then next, I honestly just recommend Natasha Preston books. I have read The Lake and You Will Be Mine by her. The Lake is a 5-star read for me. This one I give a 3-star. Just wasn't as good as The Lake in my opinion. I am someone, like I said, who gets scared very easily. So since these are YA mystery thrillers, to me, they're just enough to scratch that itch without making me so scared to where I can't sleep at night. I just love her writing. I personally do think that a lot of crazy stuff happens, at least in this one. Like this one is pretty crazy. So honestly, I would just recommend her books. Like I love her writing. And then we have If He Had Been With Me by Laura Nolan. This would be a good recommendation for if you are wanting a sad book that's gonna rip your heart out. I feel like this would be good to read in the fall time for some reason, but this is definitely a sad book. I cried very hard at the end of this, but it is a really good story. And if you're wanting a good sad book, this is what you should go to. And then kind of random to throw in the mix, but we have the Twisted series. I love this series. Like, if you know me and have watched some of my videos, you know that this series honestly changed reading for me, and I love this whole series so much, and I think this would be good to read any time of the year. Add this to your fall TBR if you need some romance books to read as a palette cleanser. They're so good. I love them. The second one is the best. The third one is my favorite guy. I just love the series, and I would highly recommend them. And then next, I don't have the physical copy of this, but I would highly recommend reading The Serpent and Wings of Night by Carissa Broadbent. I know there's a novella and a second one. I haven't read those yet, but I read the first book and I really enjoyed it. So if you're a fantasy person and if you like vampires, I would highly recommend that book. It's so good. The universe is really cool, and it kind of is like giving Hunger Games in the sense that like the whole part of that book is them competing in this like competition where only one person can win. I am someone who loves vampires, so I loved that aspect of it, and it has a subplot of romance that I was loving, and the end of that book also has so many plot twists that I was kind of getting whiplash, but it was a really good book and I would highly recommend it. And then I'm gonna recommend Indigo Ridge or the whole Eden series. I haven't finished the series yet, but I'm going to, and I just loved Indigo Ridge so much. Such a good book. I went into that book completely blind, not knowing what it was other than a romance, and that is all I'm gonna tell you. Literally, kid you not, that book was just so good because there's other aspects to that book other than romance, and it is so good. So highly recommend that book. And then lastly, this is one of my favorite books that I've ever read, a 6-star read for me. I actually don't have the physical copy in my room right now. I did order it on Amazon and I just got a notification that it got delivered, but I'm not gonna go to my mailbox right now and grab it, but I read it on my Kindle. It was only $1.99, so you have no excuse to not read it, and that is Heavy as the Crown by Lindsay J. This, again, one of my favorite books ever. So fast paced. The story is incredible. There's subplots of romance, and it is just amazing. It's basically about these two modern teens who are best friends, and they somehow end up falling into a medieval realm and end up on opposite sides of a centuries-long war and have to find their way back to each other to try to find a way home. This is going to be the first in a trilogy. I don't know when the second one is coming out yet. She hasn't said anything about it, but I'm hoping soon. And that book just ended on such a cliffhanger, but the whole book, it was so good. I mean, I was quite literally hooked from the first sentence. That's actually my last 5-star read I've had, and that was over a month ago. I mean, that book was just so good, and I truly wish that every single person would read it because I love it that much. So please read that. Like, if you're gonna read any of my recommendations, please let it be that one. And then if you do read it, comment down below on any of my videos or send me a DM. I don't care how you message me, but you gotta message me somehow telling me what your rating was of that book, okay? Okay. With that being said, that is all of the books on my TBR and all of the books that I would recommend to you guys to read this fall. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and if you did, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe if you're not already, because we have a lot of fun over here and we want you to join the fun. With that being said, I love you guys so much, and I will see you in the next one. Peace. I am about to pee myself. I'm literally gonna pee. Oh my god, why did I forget that I was recording? Okay. Why do I feel like you need to tip a little more, tip a little more, tip a little more? Okay. Oh my god, I'm so sorry, that was gross. Fallers? Dude, I just realized I forgot to put on a necklace. Okay. Hello. What? I needed water. So many. What? Because it's gorgeous. Ew, why did I say that like that? And helps their college. What the f***? Am I having like a stroke? Did I actually watch that? I don't know if I did. I love the 7 I literally have to pee so bad and I'm not done. Yeah, I went to edit and the footage was horrible. So I'm refilming the video. Why don't you take the Q-tips in the bathroom?